Wormmon! Digimon Adventure's back. It's 2021. There's a light switch there? What the fuck does that do? I've had this house for 2 years. What the fuck? What does that really do? Girl pattern. Is it an attic light? What the? What does that do? My friend told me to wear a vest to differentiate from people that wear suits. I wear suits because when I was reformatting this show, I was also kind of on a late night talk show kick, but only like Ferguson and Letterman, and they have suits. So I'm wearing my Alfred vest. Probably gonna throw a dumb clip in so you know what I'm fucking talking about. Very well then. Delete the whole channel and find out what that switch does. What the fuck is that? I never noticed! I also never come up here. This is my room. I sleep up here once every like 5 months. Anyway, I watched episodes 2 through 5 of Digimon Adventure 2020. I'm gonna recap, review them. Probably just do a shit job of it all. That wasn't entirely planned. I just drink a lot of... I reviewed the first episode, and I thought it was the first 2 episodes because so much shit happens, and also because my memory sucks, and I watched episode 2 and 3 and just never did anything with them. Because I did say I wasn't going to do it all, the series, but I got nothing else to fucking talk about, because... So episode 2 starts with... memory. There's more jerks. They beat a big jerk in the first one with Greymon, and then Matt kind of just shows up on a tall spire thingy, and Greymon and Garurumon seem to like know each other, which actually there's a good reason for that. I found out that's in episode 5. I'll get to that. So they know each other, and somehow I didn't realize that writing it on my list. Shut up and there's like more monsters. They're like the Caramon thing? I forget what his in training form is. They're kind of related. I think as a whole he's just called Argomon. This new one-eyed monster. He's a one-eyed snake. What's the weenie joke, Wormmon? He has 2 eyes, so he doesn't know. And there's a missile firing, just like in our war game. Because I think I said in the first 2-parter bullshit that this was gonna... It looked like our war game. I think that's the fucking... Our Summer War is the rip-off movie. Our war game. I let my memory card fill up. I forgot where the record button on my camera was. What the fuck? I mean, I didn't delete everything from like eons past. Gotta get Wormmon back in. Messed up by perfect framing. So yeah, that virus jerk came back and took over a missile, launching submarine thing, and launched a missile, and shock of all shocks, it's going to Tokyo, and then Matt shows up and jumps over Tai and Greymon, and then Greymon says, "You owe me one," or someone owes someone something, and they both go to fight monsters to try and stop the missile. And then they're fighting the little jerks, and there's a slightly bigger little jerk, and Matt's all like, "I'm stoic and an asshole, so I'm just gonna formulate this plan where I draw their fire and not tell you." And he does that, and Tai and Greymon are like, "Oh, now the bigger little dude's open, because all of his minions are no longer guarding him, so let's kill him." But then the little bigger dude turns into a bigger dude, and he fucking starts smacking him with plant tendrils, because he's kind of this plant thing, and I forgot to breathe. And they come up with a new plan to rush him, and then fucking create like a smoke screen by blasting them with their respective fire attacks, because the wolf also has one. But then again, it's weird for a T-Rex to have one, and I've just been using this flat tone, so the joke's ruined. What's that joke, you ask? Who cares? I've already forgotten. And then with this smoke screen, is there a spider up there? No, it's a stain. This happens like every episode. The fire creates a smoke screen, and the two jump on this tentacle monster and then they just fire point blank and like blow themselves and him up. They survive. He sort of survives because Digimon don't really like dissipate. I think when they die in this series, they don't seem to. They just kind of either get incinerated or just die. Because he kind of just died. But then, surprise! He turns into a Diaboromon-looking plant monster thing. Which is actually pretty cool. I liked his design. And then he has like a big... Well, he's got like a bunch of gaping holes that a bunch of eyes open up in. And he shoots a big beam at Greymon and Garurumon. And bear in mind, before this, they were supposed to try and stop the launch of the missile, and they had like 2 minutes and, what is it? Computer? 10 seconds? And of course, the sequence of latching on and blowing themselves up takes like 10 minutes. And the missile launches! And I already said it's going for Tokyo at some point. My camera dying fucked everything up. And it's not hard to do. So they have to stop the missile from detonating and hitting. And Big Beam is coming at Garurumon and Matt and Tai and Greymon. And then their hope to save their families and the world. And also a feather falling into TK and Kari's hands. Because it's gotta be their hands. It shows their crests as it happens. Like the crest of hope and the crest of light. And then being the team and doing a cool fist bump at some point while holding their Digivices. That was way earlier. But it was a thing that allowed Greymon and Garurumon. I'm sorry. This is all just Garurumon and Greymon, like, warp DNA Digivolve or whatever into Omnimon. And I guess, like, the angel peoples helped or whatever. Because they kind of just jumped right into it. This is episode 3, I think. Yeah, when this part happens. Right at the end of episode 2 is when they warp DNA Digivolve. And episode 3 picks up with Omnimon fighting this Diaboromon plant abomination man. Oh, and during the fight, which is a lot of like Omnimon cutting plant tendrils and at one point shooting Diaboromon dude point blank. Well, first off, they're in a big sphere like in the movie. There's like a big white spherical area where they're fighting this jerk, just like in our war game with Diaboromon versus Omnimon, was my point. They stabbed the shit out of this dude against a wall. And it almost seems like, you know, that's the end of it. Because that's kind of what killed Diaboromon, except they stabbed him in the face. But then he injects a bunch of plant tendrils into the dome area, and it infects it, and a bunch of eyes open up, and a bunch of lasers shoot, and it looks kind of a lot like when Diaboromon was a billion Diaboromons shooting Omnimon. He even gets out like the Transcendent Sword. He already had that out, because the fight had already been happening by this point. And he even does like a thing like he's about to swipe all the lasers away as they're coming in on him. But instead he starts moving at like Mach speed, dodging them all. And then he like gets this blue aura thing and just flies really fast and slices more plant things. And then he shanks the shit out of Diaboromon again and like transfers the blue aura into him. And then his eyes start going like... And then he blows up. I think. No, actually he just dissipates. Yeah, that's right, he does just kind of dissipate. But not so much Digimon style where they just disperse into like pixels. He just fucking literally just dissipates. Dissipates. Like, that's gonna be the term for whenever I'm trying to talk about something and it just takes a shit. So like all the time. I hope this is in focus. Sorry if it's not. It's not like anybody's watching it anyway. Hold spot. And then on to like episode 4, the animation kind of feels like it's janking up and sort of returning back to the original style. I mean, there's a point where Birdramon is using Meteor Wing, and it's literally just like a Birdramon PNG is floated into the frame, and then fireballs shoot out. It's the first time she does it too. That's like her big debut, and that's what they do with it. It's still a good show. But that was jank. Please patch. But they're actually in the digital world. Because at the end of the episode with Omnimon, episode 3, I mean, they kind of wrap up halfway through with that fight, and then the kids all go to summer camp. You only really see Sora, like Izzy and Tyron into Sora at this point. You see Joe, like, instructing people on how to cut vegetables or something, and he, like, cuts his finger off screen. That's pretty much it for the other kids so far. Matt, who knows what the fuck happened, because after the fight with Omnimon, everything, like, they stopped the missile, obviously, by, like, going into the server, and Omnimon does thing with sword, and then a bunch of light, and everybody's back where they should be, I guess. But anyway, summer camp. They just go there. It's kind of like a 5-minute sequence of them meeting Sora and kind of doing the Joe cameo. And then that's it. Summer camp over. Like, moving on. This adventure doesn't happen during that. I love how they just kind of shove that in as like a little, I don't know, like a reference or a joke or something. Just to say like, yeah, this is different. So after the summer camp, more of that monster dickhead seemed still like... I'm dissipating. Like, there's a blackout that's consuming Tokyo. It's just, little by little, the city is... Like, chunks of the city are just losing power, but computers are staying on, and you see, like, in the net world... Oh, shit. Cat's gonna come and fuck things up. Like the Digimon jerk. Hey, this camera's not crapping out. Is it about to crap out? I put it on 720p. It better not fucking crap out. But it's 720p at 60 FPS, so is it really memory thing still? Oh no, I scared the cat. Anyway, blackout. Digimon is birthed in the net world, and it's probably more of this one-eyed monster. And then Tai feels a connection to Agumon, like he's being called to or something, and he goes to the digital world, in the same place that he went to the net to fight Digimon and stuff. And then Sora's there somehow. She doesn't have a Digivice or anything. I don't know how she even got there. They never address it by episode 5. So in episode 4 they sure as hell don't tell you. But Tai's Digivice shoots a light because they're at some tablet thing that says follow the words or something. And then Digivice shoots light and it shows a rainbow mountain. So they're like, hey, let's go there. And then they find Biyomon, who's being chased by a Sneemon that's trying to, like, eat her, and at one point has her in his mouth. They're, like, on a raft, because they get to a river that leads to this mountain. No, that's not at all. So this Sneemon is chasing this poor little Biyomon, who jumps out and makes it clear that she was, like, waiting for Sora. At some point she says that. And so they have to run from him, and Agumon uses Baby Flame on Sneemon a bunch of times, and they're like, fuck! What do we do? Quick, jump into that river. And the river seems to lead to this rainbow mountain, and they make a raft and go to it. And then a Koalamon? Some weird meat raw whale. Yay! Fucking did it anyway! Anyway, raw meat whale thing in armor jumps out of the river they're on and fucking does like a spinning pimp smack and knocks Agumon out, well, away. But then he turns to Greymon, they start fighting and wrestling and shit. And then Sneemon's back and he attacks the raft and destroys it, and that's when he's like biting Biyomon. He's just got her in his mouth and for some reason doesn't like clamp down, he's just holding her there and flying away. But Sora's on his leg and she climbs up. And then, for some reason, Sneemon, like, drops her, Biyomon, I think because she, like, shoots him or some shit. I just watched this. But then, they're falling, and they reach out to each other, or catch each other or something, and Bergermon is born, and happens, and it's kind of more of that organic digivolving. But then, when Agumon digivolves to fight the pimp smacking mecha whale, he actually does like a more traditional show digivolution. There's like CGI and a laser shooting him, and it looks pretty cool, and there's still like a little organic evolution looking stuff going on, but it's kind of disappointing because they're going back to like, you know, filler padding. What is tapping on my house? You know, that like 10-minute digivolution sequence. It even like pads it further by showing his other forms before as he's evolving into Greymon. Like, brah, he's just turning into his adult form. What's all this shit? He's not even warp digivolving, bro. So yeah, he's wrestling with the whale, and then that's why Biyomon gets like caught. And then he finally realizes like, oh, I can just Mega Flame this fucker, and he kills him. And then Biyomon does the shitty meteor wing I mentioned, and just blows Sneemon up. And that's episode 4. Oh yeah, Izzy, for some reason, ends up in the net ocean. And he finds, like, Tentomon during all this. He doesn't know why he's there. But I guess he tried to cross over to the digital world. But he just somehow ended up there. But later he says he thinks it was to meet Tentomon or something. And they get swallowed by Hwaemon randomly, who's just in the net ocean. Well, that's probably why, because it's the net ocean. But they call it the net world. But he ate him, because he's a dick. They don't really establish it. Hwaemon's just an asshole. Doesn't even seem sentient. He's probably gonna die, though. That's more Leomon's thing. So I think episode 5 is when Bergermon is like, hey, I can fly us to the temple, because I'm big now and can carry us. I'm Greymon now. No. I'm Bergermon now. But in some episode, they end up at the temple, and it's got, like, celestial Digimon. There's a big white bird Digimon thing, who I think is Owlmon's original Mega form. Because Owlmon has, like, 2 designs. There's one that's more ninja-like, and one that's not. And then there's 2 different branches. Like, one turns into a Kamen Rider-looking dude, and the other turns into this big celestial bird thing. Which they made the king of all, I guess, holy Digimon. But he was invented in, like, 2010 or 9. So, know your fucking place. There was already a Godramon. Why isn't... But he, like, I guess has, like, this feather thing, which ties back to the Omnimon evolution. Which, by the way, Agumon doesn't even remember, because that's revealed a little bit later. I'm so good at following the sequence of events. What is going on over there? Bald spot.